will this impact next week's primary? Well, with us for an in-depth look, political consultant Steve Hood and U of M Dearborn professor and WWJ producer Tim Kiska. Thank you both.
Thanks for being here.
First of all, Steve, what do you think? Do you believe this witness?
It doesn't matter if I believe the witness. What will happen is Mike Cox will be tried in the court of public opinion. What happens is in the last 6 days of a race, you always try to hit your opponent with something they can't recover from. This time, he's not being hit by anybody. It's just coming out there. So now what happens is all his rhetoric about putting Kwame Kilpatrick in jail, all right, all his rhetoric about there not being a party is being challenged.
Tim, what do your latest numbers show, and will this have any bearing on what happens next week?
Well, two things. The latest numbers everybody's showing is that it's so dead heat between Pete Hoekstra and Mike Cox. But I think the other half of this, too, is there's a big question about whether the public's going to buy this thing. First of all, this witness doesn't have a name. Anybody can say anything in an affidavit. I could tell you, Huell, that there's a race of people living in the trunk of my car out in the TV2 lot. Notarize it, have somebody notarize it, and there it is. Will the public buy that? I'm not so sure. I could see this sinking the Mike Cox campaign. I could also see a scenario possibly where he gets helped by being made to look like the victim, being kind of smeared by some nameless person. I think, personally, Norm Utuma ought to bring this guy out and have him talk to Hugh.
Well, I would love to have him on Let It Rip. You have to wonder about timing here. Why now? Why so close to the primary?
Well, it's obviously going to do a lot of damage, conceivably, short term. I think that's part of it. I think now is, by the way, there have been rumors for a while that this kind of thing was going to drop the week before the election. So this isn't an enormous surprise.
Tim, just one thing here. If Mike Cox is going to go out and claim he's a victim, he'll have to take on all the trial lawyers. He'll have to go a long way to do this. All that has to happen now is his opponents, they are basically in a deadlock race. All they have to do right now is replay the copy from the news itself, all right, and challenge his integrity. Is he lying? Is he not? It doesn't matter. Can we trust him when he says he's going to bring jobs if we can't trust him that there wasn't a party? You got to remember, on July 22nd, he said there was no credible evidence there was a party. I made the right decision. He said that in the Detroit News.
Right.
Now, that's all being challenged. He also said he's the one that put Kwame Kilpatrick in jail. Michael Allen Schwartz, who's always, who's been on Let It Rip with us multiple times, has actually come out and said that it was Kim Worthy that put Kwame Kilpatrick in jail, not Mike Cox. So that whole discrepancy about the party, about Mike Cox is actually doing what he says he did, is already out there. It just needs to be blown up by his opponent.
But Steve, this may be a geographical consideration. In other words, this story may play in Detroit, but you go to Grand Rapids, you go to Muskegon, it won't be a big factor there.
I beg to differ with you, my good friend. Here's the problem. Outstate, all right, Mike Cox is trying to court the Tea Party vote, which we've already discussed is a white male. He's over 45 years old of age, all right? He is trying to out-white the other candidates. That's why you see that commercial, I put Kwame Kilpatrick in jail. That's why you see that whole thing trying to say that, I'm the man that put this black guy in jail. All right? And if he's found to be lying about that, he is not going to be as big of a draw to that Tea Party vote as he was. And he needs that Tea Party vote to actually get through this Republican primary.
But in 6 days, I don't know if you can find out the truth. And all of this on the same day that Kilpatrick's father and wife say they don't want to testify, and if they do, they will take the fifth.
Well, that says a lot in itself. All right, right there. Because if they take the fifth, if they come out saying something like this right now, right before 6 days before Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick has to go for election, it also hurts her. All right? Tim, it hurts her big time.
Tim, before we go, wrap it up for us. What do you see the numbers? What do they tell you?
Well, the numbers tell me right now that, first of all, I still wonder if whatever damage has been done to Mike Cox has already been done by a series of radio ads that run across the state. That's for starters. Like I said, I think I could see this thing blowing his campaign right out, ruining any momentum. But I can also see kind of a public looking at this kind of thing and saying, wait a minute, Kay Wilson, this is a guy who says he's part of a motorcycle gang that says now he needs the Dearborn police to protect him. I mean, how is that going to wash, honestly?
How it plays may depend on the audience.
That's right.
Gentlemen, thank you. Tim Kiska, Steve Hood. We'll see you later.
Thanks.